Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903.
As a constitutional law attorney, former senior legal advisor and personal counsel to President Donald J. Trump, Jenna Ellis believes in the rule of law and the importance of integrity in our elections. And she's ready to tackle the big cultural and legal issues facing America. This is the Jenna Ellis Show. Here is your host, Jenna Ellis.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jenna Ellis Show. I'm Jenna Ellis, and there has been so much midterm election analysis, I think kind of ad nauseum, and we have done all of the postmortems on that. I think we're still going to be talking about that in days and even weeks ahead to come. But I want to address a really important issue today that deals not only with the U.S. Constitution, but our ability to restrain the two political branches. As most of you know, the Democrats have been looking at this idea of court packing in the wake of President Trump being able to appoint 3 United States Supreme Court justices. And so joining me now is retired Judge Paul Summers, who is the chairman of the Keep 9 Coalition and former Attorney General of the great state of Tennessee. So Judge, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And so this Keep 9 Coalition is very simple and direct, which would have a constitutional amendment passed through Congress. And then, of course, it would have to be ratified by the states. So this is separate from a modification of the Judiciary Act, correct? This is actually a constitutional amendment you're proposing.
It would be a firewall against court packing.
Excellent. And so this is a very simple proposition, and it would, as you said, be a firewall. And explain the rationale of this, because I'm a huge fan. We need to keep the Supreme Court fireproof from all of this partisan, really just politicking.
2 years ago, my dear friend, Democrat Andy Miller, the former Attorney General of Virginia, called me up and asked me, would I be interested in this Keep 9 amendment proposition? I said, I think I would. Send me some information. He did. About 2019, 15 former attorneys general, both Democrats and Republicans. Actually, there was about one more Democrat than there were Republicans, got together, and they proposed a 13-word amendment to the Constitution, which basically is bipartisan, it's nonpartisan, and the 13-word amendment would be, quote, the Supreme Court of the United States shall be composed of 9 justices, end quote. Most people think that that's probably part of the Constitution now, but it's not. The Constitution is silent on the number of Supreme Court justices, and all it takes is for Congress to pass a law and for the president to sign it, increasing or decreasing the number of Supreme Court justices. The reason that we think it's so important is because this does not need to be a wedge or a blunt instrument against another political party. We're talking about our forefathers who in 1789, when they started the Constitution, they not only were smart gentlemen, but they were clairvoyant. They could see problems in the future. They created 3 branches of government. 2 were completely political, the legislative branch and the executive branch, but intentionally they created the 3rd branch, the judicial branch, which is not political. It's not ideological. It doesn't make its decisions based on polls or what seems to be popular at that time. They are inveterated with and controlled by the Constitution of the United States of America. They read words. Judges ought not to even be wearing black robes. I've been one for a long time in my career. They need to be wearing black and white striped robes because they're referees. They call balls and strikes, and they read words and interpret words. Why is it important? If we lose the independence of the judiciary, then we also lose the rule of law. That is, that all men and women are created equally, and they're endowed with certain inalienable rights or unalienable rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But most importantly, we will lose the checks and balances on abuse of power by the other 2 branches. If we allow the court to be packed, that is to increase, say, the number of Supreme Court justices so that you can then fill them with people of the same political ideology that you have, then what's going to happen is some little girl on Thanksgiving morning about 35 years from now will ask her granddaddy, why do we have 31 members on the United States Supreme Court? We don't want to be like a country that has 31 members on the Supreme Court. We've had 9 for 153 years, and the system has worked right well. Let's keep it at 9, pass the constitutional amendment.
Well, you make a brilliant argument and a great summation of why the judiciary is supposed to remain independent. So a couple of follow-up questions, though, because with this very polarized Congress, and even though the Republicans now have the majority and you have said that there is bipartisan support for this, a constitutional amendment is designed to be difficult to pass. We have done that 27 times in our nation's history. Very grateful, by the way, for the 19th Amendment so that I have the opportunity to vote. A few things weren't so wise in my personal opinion, like the 16th and 17th, but that's a conversation for another day. So the process, though, through Congress, so 2/3 of both houses would have to pass the language of the amendment, and then it would go to states for ratification, which at this point would be 38 states. How likely is that in today's political climate?
We think it's more than possible. It is probable. Remember this, that in 1789, when our Constitution was ratified, we had no Bill of Rights. Remember that? The Bill of Rights were an afterthought, or actually they were a compromise. It took 10 Bill of Rights to pass in less than 2 years after 1789. On the other hand, the 27th Amendment, which is the last amendment that we've ratified back in the early 1900s, it took over 200 years to get ratified. And guess which one that amendment was? It was an amendment that proposed that if Congress wants to pass a pay raise, then the pay raise would not become effective until the next Congress convenes. It took 200 years to get passed. And as you brought up the 19th Amendment, we just celebrated about 100 years that it's been in effect. And so some of them take a long time, but every journey starts with its first step. And we believe this is a journey that we are going to encompass. We've already got 200 members of Congress who support the Keep 9 Amendment. We've got over 1,000 legislators or state officials who support the Keep 9 Amendment. Admittedly, right now, because of the polarization, we don't have Democratic support. But remember this, that let's just suppose that the Democrats or the Republicans wanted to pack the court and they increased it by 4. Well, that's going to last. That's a sugar high. That's going to last maybe 8 years, maybe 10 years. So what's going to happen in 10 years when the other party becomes in power? Let's say the other party controls the legislative and the executive branches. What are they going to do? They're going to retaliate. The next thing you know, we'll have 31 members on the Supreme Court. We will lost our independence. We'll be like a banana republic.
Yeah, even more than we already are. And so that is perfectly stated. And I think conservatives, by and large, understand the principle of the ex ante and looking forward and the importance of precedent. And currently, with the Judiciary Act in the Constitution, you're right, a lot of people think that 9 is the number in the Constitution, but it's not. It's left up to Congress. And so why do you think that Congress in the past 2 years of the Democrats threatening to pack the court, that they actually haven't proposed legislation doing that? I mean, it's been an empty threat. Is it because they know that this precedent wouldn't stand and it would be terrible for them?
As I said earlier, it's a sugar high. You may get the opinions that you like or that you want for the next 6 or 8 years. But what's going to happen after that? You know, Congress, strike that, the Supreme Court has about 7,000 applications for permission to appeal every year. They grant about 2% of those applications for permission to appeal, also known as for us lawyers, as a writ of certiorari. Now, every one of those cases is an important case to somebody. Most every one of those cases, 51% are one way and the 49% are another way. But the importance of the Supreme Court is they are final and they make the final decision. If it wasn't for the Supreme Court, we wouldn't have Brown versus Board of Education, which overruled Plessy versus Ferguson and basically said that separate but equal is not constitutional. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have, if it wasn't for the Supreme Court, we wouldn't have the Griswold case, which you're familiar with. And that is that all states must provide counsel for indigent defendants. And the list goes on and on and on. It means something to somebody. Right now, apparently, allegedly, the Democrats are threatening court packing. Well, you know, FDR threatened court packing in 1937 when he was at the zenith of his power, and he failed miserably. Mm-hmm. Miserably. We've had 9 justices on the Supreme Court for 153 years. It's worked fine. There are some opinions that I like. There's some opinions that I don't like, but they're final. We know where we stand. Let's keep it that way. Things change. Let's keep it the way it is. If it's working, let's don't try to fix it.
Absolutely. And have you considered as well using the alternative method in Article 5 through a Convention of States project, or joining some of those petitions in terms of judiciary reform? Because the Convention of States project right now, which I'm, of course, an advocate of, in terms of what's on their current petition with balanced budget, term limits, but also judiciary reform, this would be something that could be a proposition to delegates at a convention of the states. And so are you working at all with them, or what's your view as a jurist and as a constitutionalist on the Convention of States method for amending the Constitution?
To the best of my knowledge, the Constitution has been amended 27 times, and every time it's been amended by the 2/3, 3/4 procedure. We have thought about that. We have considered that. But the consensus is that this would be the simplest and the easiest way to do it. 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, and then have 3/4 of the states to ratify it. Also, it also limits the discussion just to those particular words, and it doesn't broaden or lessen that. It just those particular, in our case, 13 words. So yes, we've considered it. We think this is the easier, if you want to use that word, way to do it.
Well, and it seems like it would be very straightforward, and you should get, by and large, well over the 2/3 majority in both houses and well over the 38 states you need to ratify, because this is so nonpartisan and just makes sense. And I wish that we weren't in such a hyper partisan climate, that there were things that we could actually come together on. I mean, looking, back at our founding, as much as those delegates to the Constitutional Convention, which of course, is not a convention of states, but the Constitutional Convention, when the delegates there were actually looking at ratifying the Constitution, I can't imagine our current Congress doing anything of the sort. I mean, it would be a complete and utter disaster. And so this is a really interesting, I think, testing ground of, can we do anything nonpartisan at all anymore? Or does everything have to be so hyper-partisan that we genuinely get nothing done? And go ahead.
You are absolutely correct. This is as nonpartisan as you can get. It started out with 15. As I remember, there were 8 Democrats and there were 7 Republicans on the original commission that started the original coalition that started the 13-word constitutional amendment. These guys, all of whom had argued for their states before the United States Supreme Court, they understood the process and they said, this is the right thing to do. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, before she died, was for the Keep 9. Stephen Breyer, before he retired, was for the Keep 9 constitutional amendment. We are against court packing just so that you'll get something of the nature of something that you like for a temporary period of time. That's not the way to do business. Also remember too that checks and balances on abuse of power is so important to a constitutional republic. If we lose that, we no longer have a constitutional republic.
Absolutely. And, going back to something that you said, Judge, in the very beginning of our discussion about how the judiciary should just be those umpires and call balls and strikes and should not be partisan, should not have these political vested interests. A lot of people are concerned, even with 9 justices or however many would be on the Supreme Court, that we're already seeing that. And we're seeing that with some of the picks. And of course, there's partisan politicking within all of that. But looking at the composition of the current Supreme Court, and even over the last 50 and 60 years, of some opinions that I think you and I would both disagree with, that were more drawn on partisan lines and kind of looking and reading into the Constitution for a preferred outcome rather than just applying the text and interpreting the text. How confident are you, assuming that we get this Keep 9, which I think is an absolutely critical, fundamental, crucial first step? How concerned are you with, even among the 9, having a partisan Supreme Court in our current political climate moving forward?
I don't think we're any more partisan than we were in 1937. I don't think that we're any more partisan. It's just that we have more of an actuated media that makes us more partisan instantaneously. Somebody can make a statement right now, and then and within 2 minutes, it's broadcast nationally. Now, I don't think we're any more partisan, but what I do know is this. We have 7,000 applications for permission to appeal every year. Every one of these is important. We only have 2% that are granted. Let's keep it just like it is for the last 153 years. 153 years. The Supreme Court the first Supreme Court that we had 6 members. The greatest number of Supreme Court justices was 10, and then in 1869, they decreased it to 9, and it's been 9 ever since. Please keep it like it is. Here's one more thing. Members of the first branch and the second branch, that is the legislative branch and the executive branch, when they get elected, the first thing they do the next day is they start running for re-election. Mm-hmm. Just that simple. They're looking at polls. They're looking at politics. They're looking at ideology. Judges are not like that. Judges at the federal system, once they are appointed by the president and confirmed and with advice and confirmation of the Senate, they are there for life or good behavior, whichever comes first, I guess. They're basically there for life. They don't have to worry about political ideology. They shouldn't worry about political ideology. If they do start worrying about political ideology, there's always the potentiality of impeachment, which is another branch of the government, another two branches of the government, kind of overseeing the checks and balances on the judiciary. But the point is this: please don't try to fix a system that has worked pretty well for 153 years.
It's time to make your health great again as we get closer to the new year. For anyone looking to ignite your fat-burning metabolism, boost your energy, and transform how you look and feel, you must start taking care of your liver now. Your liver is your body's master detoxifier. It performs over 500 key functions in your body every day. It's responsible for cleansing and removing thousands of harmful toxins, man-made chemicals, alcohol, and dangerous food additives and preservatives. After decades of wear and tear, our livers slow down and become sluggish. And this is why so many of us struggle with weight gain and feeling tired all of the time. So fortunately, there is a simple, all-natural solution that I absolutely recommend. It's called Liver Health Formula. Liver Health Formula contains 12 powerful botanicals clinically proven to recharge and protect your liver at the cellular level. It also helps restore your liver's detoxifying abilities, boost your energy levels, and you can kick your natural metabolism into high gear. So Liver Health Formula is backed by science and approved by American doctors. Every bottle is also manufactured right here in America too. So as of right now, as a listener to the Jenna Ellis Show, you can try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free and receive 5 free gifts when you order today. First, you'll receive a free 30-day supply of nano-powered omega-3. This is a powerful blend of omega-3 fatty acids that supports a healthy heart and brain, with 4 times better absorption thanks to this special nano delivery system. You'll also get 4 free ebooks to support every aspect of your health and longevity, regardless of your age. So go to getliverhelp.com/Jenna or call toll-free at 800-282-1757 to claim your risk-free supply of Liver Health Formula and all 5 bonus gifts. That's getliverhelp.com/Jenna or call 1-800-282-1757. You're covered by their 365-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing at all to risk. But supplies are limited, so head over to getliverhelp.com/Jenna or call toll-free 800-282-1757 now to order Liver Health Formula and get your 5 free bonus gifts. That's getliverhelp.com/Jenna or call 1-800-282-1757. You make an excellent point, Judge, that so many people, because of the mainstream media and the ability for them to curate the content of what they think is newsworthy, which is always the divisive opinions, the politically charged opinions, not necessarily from the court, even though justices may disagree with each other's rationale, the media likes to frame everything as a political debate, even among the judiciary and even among those opinions. But what they don't cover are all of the unanimous opinions that still, to this term, come out routinely from the court. There are more unanimous or 8-1, 7-2 opinions from the Supreme Court than the 2 or 3 really high profile media cases that the media chooses to amplify just to try to paint the court as even more partisan than it actually is. And I think there is some level of partisanship that goes into it based on just the judge's ideology. And interestingly, I mean, if you look at the statistics and the analytics of the trajectory of different justices' opinions from when they were appointed till the present time, and obviously for different justices that'll be a different period of time, they don't always follow the political persuasions of the president that appointed them. And by and large, they don't at all. And that's actually a good thing, because you are 100% right that it should not matter what president and what composition of the Senate appointed, nominated, confirmed them. They are independent and they need to stay that way. It bothers me so much when the first thing in the media is Obama appointed judge or Trump appointed judge. I'm like, who cares? They're not running with an R or a D after their name. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. And that brings me to another point. You're talking about the media. Let's take one example, one of 7,000 examples. That's the Dobbs case. We're all familiar with the Dobbs case. But what the media has said is the Dobbs case basically overruled Roe versus Wade and abolished abortion. It didn't do that. It didn't do that. What it did was it followed the 10th Amendment, and it said, we were wrong in Roe versus Wade. We were wrong. We made a mistake. We created out of whole cloth a constitutional right to an abortion, a federal constitutional right to an abortion, and we were wrong back when we decided Roe versus Wade. We're changing our minds, and we are reversing Roe versus Wade. We're reversing Planned Parenthood, and we are sending it back to the states so that they can make 50 individual decisions. They didn't abolish abortion. They sent it back to the states. That's what the 10th Amendment's all about. If it's not delegated to the federal government nor prohibited by this Constitution to the states, it rests with the people, i.e. the states. That is one example of what I'm talking about. But if you look at the mainstream media, with all due respect to the media, what do they say? They abolished abortion. They didn't do that.
Exactly. And, I don't respect the media anymore. I don't have all due respect to the media. You're being very kind there. But this is a perfect example, Judge, of how the media does manipulate these decisions and tries to create a hyper-partisanship on the court that doesn't even exist in the majority opinion, because the majority opinion was not commenting on the morality or even the policy of abortion. It was simply saying this is a state issue, not a federal issue for Congress or for this court to decide. It has to go back to the state legislators. But every single leftist media outlet and the Democrats in the midterm election ran on this false proposition that somehow the Supreme Court had overturned Roe versus Wade. And so that's why it's incredibly important that we do our due diligence as consumers of media, for everyone who is listening to this, and to actually go back and read just even the summary paragraphs. If you hear about a case in the media, go to the Supreme Court's website where all the opinions are published and read just even the opening summary. Usually it's not even a page or two long. You will get the gist of the actual case. And Judge, I love speaking with people like you who are so well-versed in the Constitution and who know and love it so well. I mean, I know I could learn so much from you. I hope that, one day you'll teach a class. You should do your own podcast. But I love the fact that you highlight these important things and highlight the importance of us as American citizens, regardless of party, just fundamentally as Americans, we need to return back to understanding our system of government and understanding why the judiciary should be independent. And so what advice would you give to people who are listening who now understand even more why this Keep 9 coalition is important, about the Supreme Court more? What should they understand about our system of government from your perspective?
Our coalition, which, as we've said, is nonpartisan, it's bipartisan, it's for the Constitution. It has nothing to do with party. If you want to find out more about our coalition to preserve the independence of the Supreme Court, look us up on the internet, www.keep9.org, keep9.org. Or if you want to email us at leaders, leaders, at keep9.org, or call Ramon Buehler, who's our executive director, and talk to him. Our number is 202-255-5000. But if you look at our internet, our website, it explains all this. It dovetails with what I've talked about. We're glad to help you. We also have a meeting every Wednesday night, a virtual meeting at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, where you're welcome to join us. And we have a lot of people from all over the United States talk to us. We just want Jenna to do the right thing. That's all we're trying to do. And oh, by the way, on the Constitution, I have written an article every week for the last 2 years at my local hometown newspapers about the Constitution. I write it where it's simple. I use the KISS method. You know what that is?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Keep it simple, stupid. I write it, and I love doing it because every time I read the Constitution, and I've read it several times, I learn something myself. I'm now writing basically the same articles for USA Today, Tennessee, and I welcome anybody to look at USA Today-Tennessee every Sunday, and you'll see an article about the Constitution. I think I'm up to my third or fourth article now. That's what I'm trying to do. But the main thing is I don't do anything unless it's time well spent, and this is time well spent.
Wonderful. Well, I have a new Sunday reading then in my arsenal here, because I will love to read those. And I so appreciate you contributing that to not only all of our listeners and everyone in Tennessee, but also to the broader audience, because you're right, all of this about the Constitution and about civics should not be partisan. It should not be about politicking. We can do that, between the Democrats and the Republicans and the Independents, Libertarians, Tea Party, all of us, right? But the Constitution itself and keeping our judiciary as a nonpartisan branch is so incredibly important so that we can do the politicking in the other branches, but keep them accountable. So I thank you so much, Judge Summers, for coming on today and so wisely expressing to us why we need to keep 9. And I certainly support and endorse your project. And I thank you so much for coming on today. And hopefully all of our listeners have learned something and they will support you as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you and Godspeed. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Legacy Precious Metals is the company that I trust to give you good and patient counsel for investing in your retirement. The Biden administration has caused a financial crisis and they have no clue how to fix it. Oil prices have skyrocketed, and when oil prices go up, not only do your expenses go up, but the cost of transportation and shipping spikes, leading the prices of goods to rise. And we are already seeing record inflation. That's the last thing that we need. Our economy is in trouble and you need to take steps to protect yourself. If all your money is tied up in stocks, bonds, and traditional markets, you may be vulnerable. So gold is one of the very best ways to protect your retirement. No matter what happens, you own your own gold. It's real, it's physical, and it's always been valuable since the dawn of time. Call Legacy Precious Metals today at 866-528-1903 or visit them online at legacypminvestments.com. That's legacypminvestments.com, where you can download the free investor's guide. You can also go to my Facebook page, Jenna Ellis. I am a public figure on Facebook, and I just posted yesterday a really great interview with the president of Legacy Precious Metals, who is discussing why you need to start your retirement account even if you're in your 20s or 30s. There is always a great time to protect your retirement and invest, just like you want to protect your health over the long term. So go to Legacy Precious Metals at legacypminvestments.com or call 866-528-1903. MyPillow is having their biggest sheet sale of the year. You all have helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. Now, Mike Lindell, the inventor and CEO, wants to give back exclusively to you, his listeners. The Percale bedsheet set is available in a variety of colors and sizes, and they are all on sale. So, for example, the queen size is regularly priced at $89.98, but is now only $39.98 with our listener promo code Jenna, Jenna. So order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The Percale bed sheets are breathable and have a cool and crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so don't miss out on this incredible offer. There's a limited supply, so be sure to order now. You can call 1-800-564
8475 and use the promo code Jenna, or go to mypillow.com/Jenna. You can click on the radio listener square and use the promo code Jenna. That's JENNA. Thank you so much to all of Mike Lindell's listeners and listeners of this podcast for making sure to support MyPillow and using our exclusive listener promo code Jenna. That's JENNA.